All right, so let's move on to the card this weekend. UFC Vegas 77 at the Apex. The first fight we're going to look at is Jack Della Maddalena versus a new replacement, Basil Hafez. Is that how you say his last name?
I think so, actually.
Hafez.
Something like that. Listen, we're from South Louisiana, so we kind of get the pass on saying names incorrectly, while we also apologize. Education's not our forte.
JDM, he actually had a fight scheduled last week, got canceled. Had a replacement last week, that also got canceled, so they found him another late replacement for this weekend. He comes in 14-2 with 14 straight wins. He's only had one fight go to the scorecard, so he's a dude that finishes. And he's 4-0 in the UFC, all first-round finishes. So against a late replacement, newcomer to the UFC, I think he's going to come out. I think he's going to win with a first round, probably a knockout.
Right. I couldn't imagine how frustrating that's got to be for Maddalena. Honestly, he just wants to fight before he leaves Vegas.
Well, I mean, he came here from Australia. I would too.
Yeah, and you also don't want to waste all the money on the camps and everything like that.
Literally halfway around the world.
Yeah. So props that they were able to find him a fight this short notice. I mean, the third opponent on this short notice. So props to them for that. I do think he's going to be winning this fight. He's going to be a pretty big favorite. Basil Hafez, though, he's 8-3. He's won 3 decisions, but he's also lost 3 decisions. So this is going to be a step up in competition. We'll see how it goes. So I think we pretty much established, in order to be at 155 pounds, lightweight, you have to be a killer. Terrence McKinney versus Nazim Sadikov this weekend is going to show everybody that that's true.
Yeah, so these two guys, McKinney's 13-5, Sadikov is 8-1. Between the two guys total, only one fight has gone to the scorecards. So these guys, they finish guys, and then on the occasion they get finished.
Right. So McKinney's also only been into the third round once, and that was like a minute in. So that kind of leads me to believe that the fight's not going to go the distance. It's going to be finished some way or the other. So it's very interesting. I'd bet here, if I was a betting man, which I am, I'm just not betting on this fight, I would go with something along the lines of either a second round finish, or second or first round finish, or like the under on the total rounds.
I actually am betting on this fight.
Oh, cool.
I have Terrence McKinney winning money line, so I have him at plus 130. He lost his last fight by a vicious knee, flying knee.
Shout out Ishmael Bonfim, who we just saw fight a couple weeks ago.
Shout out Bonfim. But he hasn't lost 2 in a row in his career, so I think he's going to come out. He's fighting a killer. Like I said, both these guys finish each other. Or finish other guys.
Whoa.
Pause. But I think Terrence McKinney, T-Rex, finishes Sadikov. I'm going to say second round. Probably KO, but I got McKinney.
Okay, cool. My pick actually here is Sadikov. So it'll be interesting to see who, as you put it, who's finishing who. Next, we have Otman the Bulldozer Azator, another lightweight fight, versus Francisco Prado. This one you have an Argentinian versus Azator, who's German. Azator's 13-1. He's got 10 KOs, 2 submissions, 1 decision. He's only lost by KO. Christian, I think you were mentioning to me before,
both guys are coming off their first loss.
One thing that kind of helped me determine who I was going to pick for this fight is the fact that Francisco Prado, his first fight in the UFC was a loss, where he had 11 straight wins in his regional circuit. It's not necessarily just kind of pointing out the gloom for doom, but for me, when Azator's already been in the UFC, he's won a couple in the UFC. He's acclimated to the competition, but to me, Prado could just be facing that difference in level.
I don't know, though, because you got to think how Azader's going to respond. He had his first loss, and he got KO'd in the first round by Matt Frivola. So
That's true.
how are you going to respond from that? So it is kind of both guys facing something totally different.
Prado is more well-rounded. He has 5 KOs with six submissions, where Azader has he has 10 KOs and only 2 submissions.
There's an 11-year age gap between these two guys, too.
Right.
Azader 32, Prado 21. I think I also have Azader, but this is one of the hardest fights for me to pick on this card. I could have gone either way, but I think I'm going to go with Ottman.
I agree. Ottman is my pick here. Even with the odds that Vegas thinks, there's both minus odds. Minus 102 is what I have, and minus 125. So, it's really a toss-up.
All right, so the next fight we're going to move to is the first women's fight of the night. It's Norma Dumont, the Immortal, versus Chelsea Chandler.
I'm actually excited for this fight. With Norma at 9-2 and Chelsea at 5-1, honestly, this fight, I think this is going to be a clash of style. Specifically, a clash of style.
Norma looks like she goes for decision wins. Out of her 9 wins, 7 of them gone to the scorecards. Chelsea Chandler's 5-1, like you said. She lost her first fight, and she's won 5 in a row, including her last one was her UFC debut with a first-round TKO.
And to point out, Norma's only lost twice. Once by decision, once by KO. So she's already kind of proved to herself that she's, she can be beaten kind of either way, right?
Yeah, I think this is a very close fight. Vegas has it minus 145 to Dumont, plus 125 for Chandler. I actually have Chelsea Chandler winning this fight. I think she comes in. She probably gets a decision win, but I have Chandler winning.
I have the same. I think Chandler's going to win. I think with Norma so far, kind of relying on the wrestling. While she also, I looked at her striking. She strikes, but she strikes to get the takedown. And I think with somebody like Chandler, who can also submit you and has great takedown defense.
From Stockton, California. So
right. It's going to pose a problem for Dumont. I think we see a Chandler win here as well.
I actually think it's going to be my second bet of the night. I have Chelsea Chandler money line at plus 125.
All right, moving on to Walt the Big Ticket Harris versus Josh Parisian. Not sure how he says it. Listen, this is a heavyweight fight. Walt's 13-10. He's got 13 KOs.
Only wins by KOs.
So, I think it's safe to say that if he doesn't knock Josh out, he's going to lose at this point. He's also 40 years old. So what kind of level does that play into a heavyweight contest?
Well, I'm pretty sure he's planning on at most a 1-round fight, good or bad.
I have a weird stat. So I know you have a weird stat too. What about Walt Harris's wins? What'd you say?
So he has lost 3 in a row, but before that he won 2 in a row. His last win was in 12 seconds. And his other win, so his second to last win, was in 50 seconds. So 2 under a minute. So that's pretty impressive. Okay. Like you said, 13 knockouts too.
So I'll say both of those were in 2019. Moving on to 2020, he had a loss in the second round, 3 minutes. Moving on a little bit later in 2020, he had a loss again, second round, but shorter time. And then the most recent loss he had was in the first round. One of the things that made me pick Parisian for this fight was because Walt Harris lost each of his last fights quicker and quicker. So I think Josh is able to beat the fading Harris here to the point where I believe this is my second bet.
I also have Parisian, but I don't, he's not guaranteed. I don't trust him enough to put money on it. He's lost his last fight. He's been alternating wins and losses for the past 5 fights. He is due for a win if he continues that pattern.
Right. If you can include his Contender Series win, he's 3-3 in the UFC.
Contender Series isn't UFC. He's 2-3 in the UFC.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you include that as like or as his UFC career.
But regardless, even including that, it's still alternating wins and losses.
Right.
I think he's going to win. I don't trust him enough to win that I would put money on it.
All right, this is my second bet, plus 144, money line, Josh Parisian.
Next fight of the night, Albert Duraev, the Machete. Jung Young Park, the Iron Turtle. Jung Young comes in 3 straight wins. His last 2 wins by rear naked choke. He's 6-2 in the UFC, 16-5 overall. Duraev, the Machete, 16-4 overall. He's 2-1 in the UFC. He's not been able to get a finish in the UFC yet, though.
Listen, one day I might learn to stop picking people over Russian wrestlers, but not today. Today, I'm still going to go against the grain and pick Jung Young Park as my third bet. Money line. He's a slight favorite. I just think he's going to do what it takes to finish here because Duraev hasn't been able to finish anybody in the UFC.
Brother, I'm on the same page as you. I also have Park as my pick, and I also have Jung Young Park money line as my final bet of the night.
And now for the main event for UFC Vegas 77, we have Holly, the Preacher's Daughter Holm, versus Myra Shitara Bueno Silva. Holly Holm comes in at 15-6, 8 KOs, 7 decisions, losing only once by KO, once by submission, and then 4 times by decision. Myra, 10-2, 1 KO win, 7 submissions, 2 decisions, and only losing twice by decision. One thing for me with Holm, even though she's the favorite here, at 41, that really shouldn't surprise anybody.
No, she's not slowing down at all. She's won 3 out of her last 4 fights. Her only loss in that is a split decision, which could have gone either way.
Yeah, I think Buena Silva is going to try to submit her here. Seeing as like Holly never really goes for a submission, and she's also been beaten by submission once, I think that's probably the reason this matchup was made. What do you think?
I honestly think Holly Holm's going to come in here, and I think this is just a different level for Bueno Silva. Holly Holm's consistent. She's consistently been in the top 5. I think Holly Holm comes in and gets the decision win.
Oh, I actually have Bueno Silva winning, so that'll be, a main event to look out for.